My name is Mel Tomeo, and I'm a full-time game instructor for the Magic department at Miami-Dade College. Hello everyone, in this tutorial we will be using terrain in Unity, and we're going to be creating an environment where the character can run around and test the map. And that is what terrain is basically. It's basically the environment of the game. So inside of Unity here, I have an empty project where I just have a camera and a directional light. I'm going to first ask you to download and import the standard assets package, and you can find this in the Unity store. You can find this in the Unity Assets store. So, and inside here, we're going to have a folder called Environment, and this is where we're going to be using a lot of the different textures that we're going to be using for today. So over here on the left in the hierarchy, right mouse click 3D object and create your terrain. Okay, now you can see this is our terrain here, and it looks like a flat piece of wood here, and it looks like a plane, but it's not a plane. It's an actual terrain, and it has very different options than a plane. If you look on the right here, you can see you have a couple different options here. The first one here is you create a nearby neighbor terrain, and when you do that, you can see that it is creating nearby terrains, but we don't want that. We don't want that. The next thing is the paint terrain, and the paint terrain is pretty important. You have these different options under this drop-down menu here, where you can raise or lower the terrain, paint holes in it, paint texture, set the height, smooth the height, and stamp the terrain. First thing we're going to do is paint it. So what I want to do here is go to Edit, Create Layer, and we're going to find the one that is a grass type texture. It's a 2D texture. We're going to double click on it, and now you can see here our terrain has that green attached to it. Okay. All right, next, you can see the camera view that I have that's showing the green. And the position of the terrain is on the X, Y, and Z, it's 0, 0, 0. So the next thing that I want to do is add another layer. So edit, create another layer, and we're going to scroll down. And again, all this stuff here is from that environment package. And I'm going to create another layer, and let's do the cliff one. If I double click on it, you can see you have a cliff one, type texture. And you can change the different brushes and the brush size. But if I zoom in here on the terrain, and if I click, you can see how I'm changing the terrain, and it's going to this layer here. It's changing the terrain to this layer that I have. See how I'm changing the color of the grass terrain that was first on there. Okay, next, if I and you can add in multiple different layers and change all different colors if you want. Next thing I want to do is click on the little drop down and go to raise or lower terrain, and you can see here that you can raise the terrain by just clicking on your left mouse button, and it raises the terrain. And it's real sensitive. See how quick it can raise the terrain up. And if you want to lower the terrain, you hold the shift button and then click, left mouse click, and you can see it lowering the hills. Okay. And if I want to get rid of that brown that I originally had there, you just go back to paint texture, click on the green one here, and then you can put it back to all green. And all I'm doing is holding down the left mouse button, and I'm changing the color now to all green. Okay, so I'm going to add in another layer, and I'm going to find, let's see, sand. And again, this sand one is from the environment package. I'm going to double click on it. Now I have a sandy type layer, and I am going to just paint the inside here with all sand. Okay. And you can see this, the directional light is casting a shadow here. So what I'm going to do is take the directional light and change the view of the directional light to to shine right down on the map. So I'm going to go to Game Object, Align with View, and now you can see that the light is directly above. See how the light is directly above, and it's aiming right down straight at my map here and my terrain. And I can see I missed a little spot there, so I'm going to go back, make sure I click on here, and just cover that. Okay. All right. All right. So next, and I'm just going to change my brush size down a little bit. And you can get real fancy if you want with this. I'm just showing the basics here. Okay. So now the next thing that I want to do in this tutorial is go to the trees here. These are paint trees, the third option. And you can go to Edit, Add Tree, browse over, and you can find a tree right here. And there's multiple trees. There's some more trees as well. These are called broadleaf. Let's go with broadleaf. I'm going to double click on it and then add it. And then again, this is way too big of a brush size here. I'm going to change it down to 8. You can change the tree density too. I'm going to change it down to 40. And then I'm going to put some trees right here. Okay. So we got some trees there now. All right. Next, I want to go to the next option here, which is Paint Details, and scroll down, click on Edit Details, Add Grass Texture. And then I'm going to browse over to grass here, and I'm going to see if it, there it is right there, if I just type in grass. And I'm going to go with the first option or the second option. First option, double click on it, hit add, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to put some trees right, or not some trees, some grass right here. And I'm holding it down, and I'm just dragging the mouse, and I can't see it right now because I'm too far away. But if I zoom in a little bit, you can see the grass. See the grass right there that I put in? Next. All right, so the next thing that I want to do now is put in some water right there. So I'm going to go back to the standard assets. I'm going to go to Environment, Water Basic, Prefabs, and then I'm going to take the second one there, the Water Basic Daytime, drag and drop it right there. Now, what I want to do is put the y-axis just to 0.1, just so the water is above the terrain, because the terrain is on the 0 for the y-axis. It's right there, it's 0. So the water is going to be 0.1. And I'm going to change the water size, the scale, to 10 by 10 by 10, just to make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And you can see now the water is right there. And you can see the grass as well. Now when I press the play button here, you can see the grass is waving back and forth already. The water is moving already. The water is moving, but the trees are not moving. So everything in your map is moving that can move, except the trees are not moving. See how the trees are just stationary? So what I'm going to do, hit the unplay button, is put in an object called wind zone. So over here in the hierarchy, I'm going to right mouse click, 3D object, and click on wind zone. And I'm going to take this wind zone and I'm going to look straight down at my trees, and I'm going to click on wind zone, game object, align with view. So now if I take a look at my wind zone, you can see that it's now setting wind at a direction down at my terrain. And if you look on the right here, you can change the different properties for the mode and how strong it is and everything if you want. I'm just going to leave it at the default. So now if I hit the play button, you can see that they're moving. The trees are moving now. And again, you can change how strong you want the wind. It looks like a hurricane is coming through. So I hit the unplay button. So now you have grass in there. Where's the grass at? I think it was somewhere over here. It should be right there. Once I zoom in close enough, it'll show up. There's the grass. See how I have to zoom in? Because grass is pretty small. That's why you can't see it from far away. You have to zoom in to see it. Okay, so there's the grass, trees, water. You got the wind zone. The last thing that you might want to do, and this is totally optional, is just put a character in there to test the map. So if you go over to the standard assets again, characters, third person, prefab, and the second option there, third person controller, drag him in there. And he might be a little too small. Maybe you want to put him by, let's change the scale to 5 by 5 by 5. Nope, that's way too big. Let's just put him back to 1 by 1. And what I want to do now is rotate him so he's facing the water. Okay, and then take the camera, change the camera to have it appear behind him, and you just click on the main camera and go to game object, align with view. And now you can see how the camera is right behind him, and you can see this in the game window. And then take your third person, drag and drop it onto your camera. So now the third person is a child object of the main camera. If I press play, and by doing that, that allows the camera to follow the third person character. Now I'm moving, let's see, the camera is not moving with it. My camera is not moving with him. So let's go back, hit the unplay button, and let's take him out. And let's take the main camera and change that to being a child to the third person. Let's see if that works. Now I hit play. Yeah, now the camera follows. See how the camera is following in the game window on the right? Okay, so again, you got to make sure the main camera is a child of third person controller. And there's your grass there. It's swaying back and forth. You can see your trees blowing around. You're in the water right now. Again, to summarize everything, we created a terrain, we put water, we put trees, grass, we put different layers for the textures, and we put a wind zone. I hope you learned everything that you need to learn in this tutorial. Thank you, and have a good day.